On Christmas, I arrived earlier than planned at the party at my wife's parents' house. I was shocked when I heard my wife say, "I'm pregnant for my boss. Jake, we are about to be a family." I left quietly. 3 weeks later, everyone went pale when they saw I wasn't supposed to be there yet. That's the thing about fate. It doesn't ask permission before it rewrites your entire life in the span of a single overheard sentence. The drive from the airport had been faster than I'd anticipated. No traffic on Christmas Eve, just empty highways dusted with fresh snow that caught the headlights like scattered diamonds. I'd caught an earlier flight, wanted to surprise Emma. 3 months away on that engineering project in Dubai, and all I could think about during those endless desert nights was coming home to her. To us. To the life we'd built together over 7 years of marriage. I pulled into her parents' driveway at 7:15. The party wasn't supposed to start until 8, but the windows were already glowing warm against the December darkness, and I could see silhouettes moving inside. Classic Christmas music drifted out, muffled by walls and windows but unmistakable. Bing Crosby dreaming of a white Christmas while I sat in my rental car, grinning like an idiot, imagining Emma's face when she saw me walk through that door. I grabbed the gifts from the trunk, carefully wrapped packages I'd agonized over in Dubai's gold souk and electronics district, a vintage bracelet for Emma that cost more than my first car, scotch for her father, French perfume for her mother. I was good at this, at being the son-in-law who remembered, who cared, who showed up. I always showed up. The front door was unlocked. They never locked it during parties, said it made guests feel unwelcome to have to knock. I stepped inside quietly, thinking I'd hear Emma's laugh first, that bright, cascading sound that had made me fall in love with her in a coffee shop 8 years ago, when she'd been arguing with a barista about the philosophical implications of oat milk. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine. Their Christmas tree stood in the corner of the living room, 15 feet of Douglas fir drowning in ornaments and white lights. I could hear voices coming from the kitchen, that particular hum of pre-party preparation, and I moved toward it with my surprise intact, my smile ready, my heart full of 3 months' worth of missing her. I was 10 feet from the kitchen doorway when I heard my wife's voice, clear and bright and excited in a way I hadn't heard in months. "I'm pregnant." I stopped. The packages in my arms suddenly felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. "Oh my God, Emma!" That was her mother, Catherine. Voice pitched high with surprise and joy. "When did you find out? Does Marcus know? Oh, honey, this is wonderful." I started to smile, started to move forward, started to process the word pregnant and attach it to all the things we'd talked about, all the someday plans we'd made. Then Emma laughed, not her regular laugh, something else, something nervous and giddy and strange. "Marcus doesn't know yet, and Mom, it's not his." The floor didn't drop out from under me. That's not what it feels like. The floor stayed exactly where it was. It was me who ceased to exist in any meaningful way. Me who became something less than solid, less than real. "What?" Catherine's voice had changed completely. Sharp now, careful. "It's Jake's, my boss." Emma's words were rushing out now, tumbling over each other like she'd been holding them in for too long and finally found release. "We've been together for 6 months. Since August. And we're in love, Mom. Really in love. He wants to marry me. We're going to be a family." Silence. I stood there in the hallway, 10 feet from the kitchen, holding Christmas presents, wearing a sweater Emma had given me last year with a reindeer on it, and I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Couldn't do anything but stand there and let the words rearrange reality. 6 months, August. I'd been home in August. We'd celebrated our anniversary in August. 7 years. We'd gone to that restaurant by the lake, the expensive one, and she'd held my hand across the table and told me she was so lucky, that I was her person, that she couldn't imagine life without me. "Emma," Catherine's voice was low now, almost a whisper. "Emma, what are you saying? You and Marcus. Marcus is safe." Emma cut her off, and there was something dismissive in her tone that hurt worse than the confession itself. "He's reliable and kind, and he'll probably take this well because he takes everything well. That's who he is. But Jake, Mom, Jake makes me feel alive. He's exciting and dangerous, And when I'm with him, I feel like I'm actually living instead of just existing in this comfortable little box Marcus built for us. Honey, her father's voice now, Richard. The man who'd shaken my hand at our wedding and told me he was gaining the son he'd always wanted. Honey, you need to think about what you're doing here. Marcus loves you. He's a good man. He's worked so hard. I know he's a good man, Emma's voice cracked. Don't you think I know that? Don't you think that makes this harder? But I can't live my whole life being grateful for someone being good to me. I want passion. I want spontaneity. I want someone who doesn't plan every moment of every day like it's a project to be managed. I managed projects for a living. I was good at it. I planned things because planning meant security, meant building something solid, meant creating a future worth living in. Apparently that made me boring. And you're sure it's his? Catherine again, practical even in crisis. I'm sure Marcus and I haven't been intimate since July. He's been so busy with work, and I've been with Jake, and it just happened, or stopped happening. Either way, this baby is Jake's. July. We hadn't made love since July, and I hadn't even noticed. I'd been preoccupied with the Dubai contract, with planning my career advancement, with making sure we had enough saved for the house we were supposed to buy next spring. The house with the big backyard she'd wanted for kids. Our kids, not Jake's kids. I'm telling Marcus after Christmas. Emma's voice had steadied now, found its resolve. I'll wait until after the holidays. It would be cruel to ruin Christmas for him. Jake and I have already discussed it. He's getting divorced too. His wife doesn't know yet either. And we're going to find a place together. Start fresh. Do this right. Do this right. As if there was a right way to detonate someone's existence. I don't remember making the decision to leave. One moment I was standing there, the next I was walking backward, slowly, carefully, like I was defusing a bomb by retreating from it. The packages were still in my arms. I don't know how I held on to them. My hands had stopped working in any way I recognized. The front door was still open. I'd left it open when I came in, too excited to bother closing it. I stepped back through it into the cold December night and pulled it shut with a quiet click that sounded like the closing of a casket. The snow had started falling harder. It collected on my shoulders as I stood there on the porch, staring at the wreaths Catherine had hung on the door, at the welcome mat that said joy to all who enter, at the warm light spilling through the windows where my wife was planning her new life with another man's baby growing inside her. 6 months. The math was simple. She'd started sleeping with her boss 2 months after our anniversary, 2 months after looking me in the eyes and calling me her person. 1 month before I'd left for Dubai. Had she been relieved when I got that assignment? Had she helped me pack, kissed me goodbye at the airport, and then driven straight to Jake's place to celebrate my absence? I walked to my car, put the presents in the trunk, sat in the driver's seat, and stared at the steering wheel while snow accumulated on the windshield, slowly erasing the view of the house where my marriage had just ended without anyone knowing it had happened. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Hey babe, almost ready for the party? So excited to see you. Dad's already drinking the good scotch. Save me. Heart emoji. I looked at those words for a long time, tried to reconcile them with the woman in that kitchen, the one who'd just told her parents she was pregnant with her boss's baby, the one who'd called me safe and boring and compared our life to a box. I didn't respond. I started the car and drove. I don't remember much about the drive back to our house. Our house, the one we'd bought 3 years ago after saving for 5 years before that. The one where we'd painted the bedroom together, where we'd hosted dinner parties, where we'd made love on Sunday mornings and argued about whose turn it was to clean the bathroom and planned futures that apparently only I believed in. The house was dark when I pulled up, cold. I'd turned the heat down before leaving for Dubai to save money. Always saving money, always planning, always building toward a future that had just been canceled. I sat in the driveway and called my best friend David. He answered on the second ring, Christmas music and laughter in the background. Marcus, hey man, thought you weren't back until tomorrow. Everything okay? I need a lawyer, I said. A divorce lawyer, the best one you know. The background noise on his end cut off. I heard a door close. What happened? I told him. All of it. The early arrival, the kitchen conversation, the 6 months, the pregnancy, the plans she'd made to tell me after Christmas like I was a child who needed to be protected from adult realities. David was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then, where are you now? Home. Don't stay there. Pack a bag and go to a hotel. Right now, Marcus. I'm serious. Why? Because you need to think clearly, and you can't do that in the house you shared with her. Because you need to not be there when she gets home and starts asking questions. Because you need space to process this before you do anything. He paused. And because you need to document everything before she knows that you know. Document? Text messages, emails, phone records, bank statements, everything. If she's been having an affair for 6 months, there's evidence. You need to find it before she has a chance to delete it. The engineer in me understood this immediately. Evidence, data, facts that could be organized and analyzed and used to build a case. I'll send you some names, David continued. Lawyers who specialize in this kind of thing. But Marcus, listen to me. Do not confront her yet. Do not tell her you know. Not until you've talked to a lawyer and protected yourself. Protected myself from what? She's the one who, from everything. Financially, legally, emotionally. She's been planning this for months. You just found out tonight. She has a head start. You need to catch up before you make any moves. He was right. I knew he was right. But there was something in me that wanted to drive back to her parents' house, walk into that kitchen, and watch her face when she saw me. Watch her scramble for explanations. Watch her try to spin this into something that made sense. But I didn't. Because David was right. And because underneath the shock and pain, something else was beginning to stir. Something cold and precise and methodical. She'd been planning this. She'd been careful. She'd calculated when to tell me, how to tell me, had probably already discussed with Jake what the divorce would look like, how they'd manage the transition, what story they'd tell people. She'd turned our marriage into a project she was managing. I was good at managing projects too, better than she knew. I packed a bag, clothes, toiletries, my laptop, the external hard drive where I backed up everything. I moved through the house we'd shared like a ghost, seeing it differently now. The photos on the walls, lies. The furniture we picked out together, props in a play I didn't know was ending. The bed we'd slept in, a place where she'd faked intimacy while planning her exit. July, the last time we'd made love. I'd been too tired that night, jet lagged from a previous work trip, but she'd initiated anyway. Been enthusiastic about it in a way that had surprised me. I thought we were reconnecting. I thought it meant something. Now I wondered if she'd been doing market research, comparing me to Jake, making sure she'd chosen correctly before committing to her choice. I found the folder where we kept important documents, marriage certificate, house deed, tax returns, insurance policies. I photographed all of it with my phone, uploaded everything to a secure cloud account she didn't have access to. Then I went to our home office and sat down at the computer. Emma and I shared a desktop computer for household things. Bills, shopping, photos. She had her work laptop, I had mine. But this machine in the office was supposedly neutral territory. We both used it. We both had accounts. I knew her password. She'd never hidden it from me. Why would she? We were married. We trusted each other. I logged into her email. The engineering project in Dubai had taught me a lot about data analysis, how to sort through massive amounts of information to find patterns, how to filter noise from signal, how to build a picture from scattered pieces. I build a picture now. The affair had started in August, she'd said. I searched her emails for that time frame. There, a hotel reservation. The Riverside Luxury Suites, August 15th, while I'd been home, while we'd been living our normal life. She told me she was having dinner with her college friend Sarah that night. Girls' night out. I'd ordered pizza and watched a documentary about infrastructure. She'd been at a hotel with Jake. I kept searching. Found expense reports she'd filed with her company, dinners charged to her corporate card. Client entertainment, the report said. But the amounts were wrong for client dinners. Too expensive, too intimate, 2 entrees, 1 dessert to share, bottles of wine that cost more than our weekly grocery budget. I found text messages synced to her cloud account. She'd deleted them from her phone but hadn't realized they were backed up automatically. Jake, can't stop thinking about this afternoon. You're incredible. Emma, I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I don't regret it. Not even a little bit. Jake, when are you going to tell him? Emma, after the Dubai project, it's easier this way. He'll be gone and I can clear my head. That one hurt. She'd encouraged me to take the Dubai assignment, had helped me prepare the proposal, had told me it would be amazing for my career. I thought she was being supportive. She'd wanted me gone so she could be with Jake without the inconvenience of a husband underfoot. I documented everything. Screenshots, saved emails, exported text message histories. I created a folder on my external hard drive labeled Project Archive and filled it with evidence of my wife's 6-month betrayal. The engineer in me was calm now, focused. This was just data, just information to be collected and organized and analyzed. The husband in me was dying, but I didn't have time to feel that yet. It was almost midnight when I finished. I'd been sitting at that computer for 4 hours, watching my marriage dissolve into a timeline of teasers in hotel reservations and deleted text messages. My phone had been buzzing the whole time. I'd muted it. Now I looked. 17 missed calls from Emma, 23 text messages. The messages told a story. Where are you? Party's starting. Babe, your parents called. They said you landed hours ago. Marcus, I'm getting worried. Are you okay? This isn't funny. Where are you? I'm going to call the police if you don't answer me. Please just let me know you're safe. Almost laughed at that last one. Let her know I was safe. Like I was the one in danger here. Like I was the one who needed protecting. I texted back. Got delayed, flight rescheduled. We'll be home tomorrow. Don't wait up. The response was immediate. Thank God, I was so scared something happened. Love you so much. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Love you so much. Can't wait to see you. Words that meant nothing. Words she'd probably texted to Jake today too. In between bites of Christmas cookies at her mother's house while telling her parents about their future family. I checked into a hotel, not the Riverside luxury suites. I'd never be able to walk into that building without seeing my wife in bed with another man, but a business hotel near the airport. Clean and anonymous and empty. The room was beige. Everything was beige. Beige walls, beige carpet, beige bedspread. I sat on the edge of the beige bed and stared at the beige wall and tried to feel something other than the methodical calm that had carried me through the last 5 hours. The feelings came eventually. Around 2 in the morning they came. I'd loved her. God, I'd loved her so completely. She was the first person I thought about when I woke up and the last person I thought about before sleep. She was the reason I worked so hard, saved so carefully, planned so meticulously. Everything I did with us in mind. Our future, our family, our life. And for 6 months while I'd been building that future in my head, she'd been dismantling it in reality. I cried. First time in probably 15 years. Sat on that beige bed in that beige room and cried. Like something inside me had broken in a way that couldn't be fixed. But even while I cried, part of my brain was working, planning, calculating. She'd said she was going to tell me after Christmas. That gave me time. A week maybe. She'd want to ease into it, probably. Pick the right moment. Stage the conversation. She was good at staging things, I was realizing. Good at managing perceptions. I could use that time. David had texted me 3 names. Lawyers. I looked them up on my phone, read reviews, studied their success rates in divorce cases. One name kept appearing in articles about complex divorces. Melissa Chen. She'd handled several high-profile cases involving infidelity and hidden assets. The reviews called her ruthless but fair and the lawyer you want on your side when things get ugly. Things were going to get ugly. I emailed her at 3 in the morning from my phone. Explained the situation briefly, professionally, like I was submitting a project proposal. Attached some of the evidence I'd collected, asked for a consultation as soon as possible. She responded at 7 a.m. Available this morning at 10. Come to my office. Bring everything you have. I spent the hours until the meeting organizing the evidence, created a timeline, cross-referenced bank statements with Emma's calendar appointments, found patterns I hadn't noticed before. She'd been taking half days at work every Friday for 3 months, told me she was working from home those afternoons. But her work laptop's login records, I had access to our shared family iCloud account, which included her work device backups, showed she wasn't logging in on those afternoons. She was somewhere else, with Jake, probably. While I'd been in Dubai thinking she was home working, she'd been spending 3-hour Friday afternoons doing God knows what with her boss. The bank statements showed regular cash withdrawals, $200 every Thursday. Cash she'd told me was for groceries and household expenses. But our actual grocery spending was all on credit cards. I could track it. The cash was going somewhere else. Gifts for Jake, maybe. Hotels they kept off the corporate card. I didn't know exactly, but the pattern was there. Regular, consistent, planned. She'd been so careful, so methodical. If I hadn't come home early, if I hadn't overheard that conversation, I might never have known. She would have told me after Christmas, yes, but she would have controlled the narrative, would have framed it as a sudden realization, a difficult choice, maybe even blamed our marriage problems on my traveling for work. Instead, I knew the truth, and I had evidence of the truth. That changed everything. Melissa Chen's office was in a downtown high-rise with a view of the river. Appropriate, I thought. Rivers cut through landscapes, carve new paths, reshape everything in their way. She was younger than I expected. Mid-40s maybe, wearing a gray suit that probably cost more than my car payment, with dark hair pulled back in a way that meant business. "Mr. Harrison," she shook my hand firmly. "Sit down. Show me what you have." I opened my laptop and walked her through everything. The timeline, the emails, the text messages, the bank statements, the hotel reservations. The suspicious Friday afternoons, the pregnancy that couldn't possibly be mine because we hadn't been intimate since July. She listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she sat back and studied me. "You've been thorough," she said. "I'm an engineer. Thoroughness is part of the job." "Good, that's going to help. Here's where we stand." She flipped to a new page on her pad. Colorado is a no-fault divorce state, which means the affair itself won't impact the divorce proceedings directly. But it will impact custody if she's trying to claim you're unfit, and it will definitely impact the financial settlement. "Custody of what? The baby isn't mine." "No, but you're married. Under Colorado law, you're presumed to be the father unless proven otherwise. She can claim the child is yours, and you'll need a paternity test to prove it isn't." I hadn't thought of that. The idea that I might be legally responsible for Jake's baby made something twist in my stomach. "However," Melissa continued, "the evidence you've gathered changes the game considerably. She's been committing marital waste, spending marital funds on an affair. Those cash withdrawals, the hotel rooms, the dinners, all of that can be calculated, and she can be required to reimburse the marital estate for that spending. How much are we talking about?" She did some quick math on her pad. "Conservative estimate based on what you've shown me? Probably 25 to 30,000 over 6 months. I thought about that. $30,000 of our money we'd saved for a house, for our future, spent on hotels and dinners and gifts for the man she'd been fucking behind my back. "There's more," Melissa said. "You own a house together, have joint accounts. What does your employment situation look like?" "I make about $140,000 a year. She makes about 90. "Assets? The house? Bought it 3 years ago for $425,000, probably worth $500,000 now. We've paid down about $75,000 of the mortgage. Joint savings of about $80,000. My 401k has about $200,000. Her 401k has about $90,000. 2 cars, both paid off." Melissa nodded, writing it all down. "So roughly $650,000 in marital assets, not counting the retirement accounts, which are typically divided separately. In a standard divorce, you'd be looking at a roughly even split. But given the affair, the marital waste, and the fact that she's pregnant with another man's child, we can argue for a division more favorable to you." "How favorable?" 60-40 split is realistic. Maybe better depending on how aggressive you want to be and how much she wants to avoid a trial. I thought about Emma at her parents' house, telling them about Jake, about the baby, about her exciting new future. I thought about her text messages, about her lies, about the 6 months she'd been building a new life while pretending to live our old one. How aggressive can we be? Melissa smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. As aggressive as you're willing to pay for, but here's my advice. Don't make this about revenge. Make it about protecting yourself and getting what you're legally entitled to. Revenge is expensive and emotionally exhausting. Justice is cleaner. What's the difference? Revenge is trying to hurt her because she hurt you. Justice is making sure she faces appropriate consequences for her actions while you move on with your life intact. I understood the distinction. I also understood that sometimes justice and revenge could look remarkably similar from the outside. I want justice, I said, and I want to make sure that when this is over, she understands exactly what she gave up. Melissa studied me for a moment, then nodded. We can work with that. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to act completely normal until after Christmas. You're going to pretend you don't know anything. You're going to be the loving husband. Can you do that? The idea made me sick, but I nodded. Good. While you're doing that, I'm going to file divorce papers. We'll serve her the day after Christmas, before she has a chance to tell you her version of the story. This way, you control the narrative. She's going to know I found out somehow. Let her wonder. The point is, she doesn't get to manage this situation. She doesn't get to pick the time and place. She doesn't get to frame it her way. You do. I like that idea more than I should have. One more thing, Melissa said. I need you to get a paternity test done as soon as possible after the baby's born. We'll need documentation that you're not the father. Without that, you could be on the hook for child support. The baby isn't due until June. The divorce won't be final by then. No, but we can move quickly enough that the legal framework is in place. The key is documenting everything now, while the evidence is fresh. She tapped the folder I'd brought with all my printed documentation. This is good work, very detailed, but I need you to do one more thing. What? I need you to check your credit reports, all 3 bureaus. Make sure she hasn't opened any accounts in your name or taken out any loans you don't know about. If she's been planning this for 6 months, she might have been securing her financial position. I hadn't thought of that either. The idea that she might have been stealing from me in other ways made my hands clench into fists. I'll do it today. Good. And Marcus? Melissa's voice softened slightly. I know this is terrible. I know it feels like your world is ending. But you're doing the right things. You're being smart and careful, and that's going to protect you in the long run. A lot of people in your situation react emotionally, and it costs them. You're not doing that. I'm not feeling very smart right now. That's because you're still processing. The shock is still fresh. But you came here instead of confronting her. You gathered evidence instead of destroying property. You're thinking strategically instead of acting impulsively. That takes intelligence and self-control. I didn't feel in control. I felt like I was barely holding together, but I nodded anyway. Go home, she said. Act normal. Be the husband she expects. Let her think everything is going according to her plan. And on December 26th, her world is going to change very suddenly. I left her office feeling something I hadn't felt since hearing Emma's confession. A sense of purpose. A plan. I checked my credit reports that afternoon from my hotel room. Found something that made my jaw clench so hard my teeth hurt. She'd opened a credit card in both our names 3 months ago. October, the balance was $15,000. The charges were all at high-end stores. Nordstrom, Tiffany, Williams-Sonoma. She'd been buying things, expensive things, on a card I didn't know about. Setting up her new life with Jake. Decorating their future apartment, probably. Buying jewelry to celebrate their new beginning. With my credit, with my financial responsibility. I forwarded the information to Melissa immediately. Her response was brief. This is good. This is very good. Keep looking. I kept looking. Found that she'd been transferring money from our joint savings to a separate account I didn't have access to. Small amounts. 500 here, 1,000 there. Nothing big enough to trigger alerts, but over 6 months it added up to almost $20,000. She'd been planning this so carefully. so methodically. While I'd been in Dubai, working 14-hour days in 110-degree heat, managing a project that was supposed to advance my career and secure our future, she'd been systematically preparing to leave me. The detail that hurt most was how she'd encouraged me to take that Dubai assignment. I'd been hesitant. 3 months away from home was a long time, but she'd been so supportive, had told me it was an amazing opportunity, had helped me prepare for the interview, had celebrated with champagne when I got the offer. She'd wanted me gone, had seen it as a gift, probably. 3 months to be with Jake without having to make excuses, 3 months to plan her exit strategy, 3 months to build her new life while I was paying for it from across the world. I wanted to scream, wanted to break things, wanted to drive to her office and tell everyone there what she'd done. Instead, I did what Melissa had told me to do. I went home. The house was empty when I arrived. Emma would be at work for another 2 hours. I walked through it like a stranger, seeing everything differently now. The kitchen where we'd cooked together. Had she been thinking about Jake while chopping vegetables beside me? Had she been comparing us? Finding me wanting? The living room where we'd watched movies on Friday nights. Had those Friday half-days been what she was really looking forward to? Time with him instead of time with me? The bedroom where we'd made love, where we'd talked about having children someday, where she'd conceived someone else's child and never told me. I sat on the edge of our bed and looked at the framed photo on her nightstand. Us on our wedding day. She looked radiant. I looked happier than I'd ever been in my life. That man in the photo had no idea what was coming. Had no idea that the woman in white beside him would betray him so completely that 7 years later he'd be sitting here trying to figure out if anything had ever been real. My phone buzzed. Emma, home in 20. So excited to see you. Should I pick up dinner? I texted back like a loving husband would. I'll cook. Your favorite. See you soon. Her favorite was chicken piccata with angel hair pasta. I'd learned to make it for her birthday our first year together. Had perfected it over 7 years of practice. I made it now, moving through the motions mechanically. Chicken pounded thin, flour, butter, lemon, capers, pasta boiling, salad dressed, wine opened. The perfect welcome home dinner. I was setting the table when I heard her car in the driveway. She came through the door like a hurricane of excitement, dropped her purse, ran to me, threw her arms around my neck. You're home. You're really home. She was kissing my face, my neck, laughing. I missed you so much. So much. I held her, smelled her perfume, the one I'd given her for our anniversary, felt her body against mine, the body that was carrying another man's child. I missed you too, I said, and the lie tasted like poison. She pulled back to look at me. Are you okay? You seem tired. Just jet lag, long flights? Well, you're home now, and I have so much to tell you about Christmas plans, and oh my God, you made chicken piccata. She'd seen the table. This is perfect. You're perfect. Perfect. Safe, boring. The husband in the box she was ready to discard. We sat down to dinner. She talked about her parents' Christmas party plans, about work, about a new coffee shop that had opened near her office. Normal conversation, easy conversation, the kind we'd had 1,000 times before. I watched her talk, studied her face, looked for signs of guilt, of deception, of the woman who'd told her mother I was safe and boring. She looked happy, genuinely happy, like there was nothing wrong at all. How was Dubai? She asked, twirling pasta on her fork. Hot, complicated. We had some delays with the structural engineering, but we got it sorted out. That's my brilliant husband, always sorting things out. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I'm so proud of you. I looked at her hand on mine, saw her wedding ring, the one that matched mine, the one that was supposed to mean something. Emma, I said carefully, are you happy? She blinked. What? Of course I'm happy. Why would you ask that? Just, I've been gone a lot, working a lot. I want to make sure we're okay. Her face did something complicated. For just a second, I saw something that might have been guilt. Then it was gone, replaced by her smile. We're great, she said firmly. We're absolutely great. And now you're home and we can have a perfect Christmas together. A perfect Christmas. While she was pregnant with Jake's baby, while she was planning to tell me after the holidays that she was leaving me, while she was spending our money on her affair and hiding assets and opening credit cards in my name. Perfect. I made it through dinner, through dessert, through washing dishes together while she talked about getting a real tree this year instead of our usual artificial one. I made it through a movie on the couch, her head on my shoulder, her hand playing with my fingers like she always did. I made it through her suggesting that we go to bed early, her voice taking on that particular tone that meant she wanted to be intimate. I couldn't do that. I couldn't touch her like that knowing what I knew. I'm exhausted, I said. Jet lag is hitting hard. Can we just sleep? Of course, she kissed my cheek. Poor baby. You must be wiped out. We went to bed. She fell asleep quickly, curled against me like always. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, feeling her breathe, counting down the hours until Christmas was over and Melissa could serve the divorce papers. 4 days. I had to act normal for 4 days. The next morning was Christmas Eve. Emma Madal was off work, cheerful and energetic. She wanted to bake cookies for her parents' party, wanted me to help. We stood in the kitchen together measuring flour and sugar, and I remembered all the other times we'd done this. The easy domesticity of it, the comfort of shared routines. Had any of it been real? Had she ever actually loved me, or had I just been a placeholder until someone more exciting came along? You're quiet, she said, bumping her hip against mine. What are you thinking about? Just tired still, I'd lied, and thinking about the Dubai project. There are some things I need to sort out after the holidays. Work, work, work. She shook her head, smiling. You need to learn to turn it off sometimes. This from the woman who'd been fucking her boss for 6 months. My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. Papers ready. Process server confirmed for Deck 26, 9 a.m. Stay strong. I deleted the message immediately. Who was that? Emma asked. David, wishing me Merry Christmas. She nodded, already focused back on the cookies. We went to her parents' party that evening. I walked into that house where I'd heard the truth 2 nights ago, and I smiled and shook hands and accepted Richard's hug and Catherine's kiss on the cheek. They knew. They knew about Jake and the baby and Emma's plans to leave me, and they were acting like everything was fine. Catherine pulled me aside at one point. Marcus, honey, I'm so glad you're home. Emma missed you terribly while you were gone. Did she, though, or did she just miss having the convenience of a husband around? I missed her too, I said, because what else could I say? She seems so happy lately, Catherine continued, just glowing. I think she has some exciting news to share with you soon. Exciting news. The baby, the affair, the divorce. I'm looking forward to it, I said, and watched Catherine's face for any sign that she knew how that sentence could be interpreted. She just smiled and squeezed my arm. Richard cornered me later by the scotch, poured me a glass of the expensive stuff, the stuff I'd planned to bring him before my world imploded. Good to have you back, son, he said. Emma tells me the Dubai project was a success. It was, challenging, but successful. That's the way with worthwhile things, isn't it? The challenging ones are usually the most rewarding. He sipped his drink. You and Emma have built something good together. Something solid. Don't forget that. Was he trying to tell me something? Did he want me to fight for his daughter? To forgive her betrayal? To accept Jake's baby as my own? Or was he just making conversation, oblivious to the subtext I was reading into everything now? I couldn't tell. The not knowing was almost worse than the knowing. Emma found me an hour later. She'd had 2 glasses of wine. Wasn't she supposed to avoid alcohol while pregnant? And her cheeks were flushed. Having fun? She asked, sliding her arm through mine. Yeah, good party. I'm glad you're home for this. Christmas is better with you here. One more Christmas, one last holiday season as a married couple. Then she'd tell me her truth, and I'd tell her I already knew, and everything would detonate. We drove home that night in comfortable silence. She hummed along to Christmas carols on the radio. I focused on driving through the snow that had started falling again. Marcus? Her voice was soft. Yeah? I love you. You know that, right? I looked at her. She was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. I know, I said. Did she love me? Could she love me and do what she'd done? Or was this guilt talking, last-minute doubts, cold feet about the new life she'd planned? I didn't know. I didn't know anything anymore except that in less than 48 hours this would all be over. Christmas Day was surreal. We opened presents in our living room like people whose marriage wasn't already dead. She gave me a watch, expensive, beautiful. For all the time we'll spend together now that you're not traveling so much, she said. I gave her the bracelet from Dubai, watched her eyes light up when she opened it. It's gorgeous, she breathed. Marcus, this must have cost a fortune. It had. I'd wanted her to have something special, something that showed her how much I loved her. Now I watched her put it on and thought about how she'd probably wear it on dates with Jake, how it would become part of her new life story. My ex-husband gave me this, guilt gift probably. He must have known somehow. We had brunch, watched Christmas movies. She fell asleep on the couch and I covered her with a blanket and looked at her sleeping face. She looked peaceful, young. The woman I'd fallen in love with in that coffee shop 8 years ago was still visible in her features. But that woman, if she'd ever really existed, was gone now. Replaced by someone I didn't know. Someone who could lie with perfect ease. Someone who could plan a future with another man while sleeping in my bed every night. My phone buzzed. Melissa, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp, be ready. I was ready. I'd been ready since the moment I heard Emma tell her mother about the pregnancy. That night, Emma wanted to make love. She initiated it carefully, sweetly, like she had 1,000 times before. I couldn't. I made up an excuse about still being jet-lagged, about being tired, about wanting to just hold her. She looked disappointed but didn't push. We fell asleep with her back pressed against my chest, my arm around her waist. The last time we'd sleep this way. The last night of our marriage, even though she didn't know it yet. I woke up at 6 a.m. on December 26th. Emma was still asleep. I got up quietly, showered, dressed. By the time she woke up, I was on my second cup of coffee, sitting at the kitchen table waiting. Morning, she said sleepily, coming into the kitchen in her robe. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. She poured herself coffee, decaf, I noticed now, because of the pregnancy, and sat across from me. What should we do today? We have the whole day off. We could drive up to the mountains, go for a hike, have lunch at that place you like. The doorbell rang. Emma looked at me, surprised. Who would that be so early? I'll get it, I said, standing. I opened the door. A woman in a professional business suit stood there holding a manila envelope. Marcus Harrison, she asked. Yes. I have documents for Emma Harrison. Is she available? Emma appeared behind me. I'm Emma Harrison. The process server handed her the envelope. You've been served. Have a good day. She walked away. Just like that. Left us standing in the doorway with an envelope that contained the end of our marriage. Emma looked at the envelope, then at me. What is this? Open it. Her hands were shaking as she tore open the envelope, pulled out the papers, started reading. I watched her face change, confusion first, then shock, then something like fear. This is... Marcus, what is this? Divorce papers? I don't understand. I didn't say anything, just stood there watching her try to process. This says you're filing for divorce. It says irreconcilable differences and marital waste and... She looked up at me, eyes wide. Marcus, what the fuck is going on? You're pregnant, I said calmly, with Jake's baby. You've been having an affair with your boss for 6 months. You were planning to tell me after Christmas, but I already know. I've known since Christmas Eve. All the color drained from her face. How did you... I came home early, went to your parents' house, heard you tell your mother everything. About Jake, about the baby, about how I'm safe and boring and you want passion and excitement. She sat down hard on the couch, the papers scattered from her hands. You've been spending our money on your affair, I continued. You opened a credit card in both our names and ran up $15,000 in charges. You've been transferring money from our joint account to a secret account. You've been meeting him every Friday afternoon while telling me you were working from home. You've been planning this for months while I was in Dubai working to build our future. Marcus, her voice was barely a whisper, I have evidence. All of it. Text messages, emails, bank statements, hotel reservations. My lawyer has everything. So you can't lie about this. You can't spin this into something where I'm the bad guy for traveling too much or working too hard. You did this. You chose this. And now you get to deal with the consequences. She was crying now, tears running down her face, shoulders shaking. I was going to tell you, I was going to explain after Christmas, I know, on your timeline, your way, but I don't care about your timeline anymore. This is my timeline now. Marcus, please, can we just talk about this? Can we read the papers? I said. My lawyer will be in touch about dividing assets. I've already moved my stuff out to a hotel. I'll be back next week with movers for my furniture and personal items. Until then, you can stay here. I picked up my keys. I'd packed another bag last night after she fell asleep. It was waiting in my car. Where are you going? She stood up, panic in her voice now. Away from you. Marcus, wait. Please. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. We can work through this. I looked at her, really looked at her, saw the desperation in her face, the fear, the regret. Too late. All of it too late. You don't love me, I said quietly. You love the idea of me, the safety, the security, the life I built for us. But you don't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have spent 6 months fucking your boss. You wouldn't have gotten pregnant with his baby. You wouldn't have called me boring and said you felt trapped in the life we made together. I didn't mean, yes, you did. You meant every word. And the only reason you're sorry now is because I found out before you were ready, because you lost control of the situation, because I'm not reacting the way you expected. I walked to the door, turned back one more time. I hope Jake makes you happy, I said. I hope the passion and excitement are worth it. I hope when you're up at 3 a.m. with his baby, wondering how you're going to pay your bills because your lawyer fees and his divorce costs have drained both your accounts, I hope you'll remember how boring and safe I was and realize what you threw away. Marcus. I closed the door on whatever she was going to see, got in my car, drove away. In my rearview mirror, I could see her standing in the doorway in her bathrobe, holding divorce papers, crying. I felt nothing. The nothing was almost worse than the pain. I drove to David's house. He opened the door before I could knock, must have seen me pull up. It's done, he asked. It's done, Sion. He pulled me into a hug. I stood there stiffly, still feeling nothing, while my best friend tried to hold me together. Come on, he said finally. Sarah made breakfast. You should eat. I sat at their kitchen table while David's wife Sarah made me eggs and bacon and toast I couldn't taste. They were both being careful with me, like I might break. Maybe I was already broken. My phone started ringing. Emma. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined, again, declined. Text messages started flooding in. Please talk to me. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. I love you. Please don't do this. We can fix this. Marcus, please, but I turned my phone off. You okay? David asked carefully. I don't know what I am. Over the next few days, I learned to exist in a strange limbo. I stayed at David and Sarah's house. They gave me their guest room and space and didn't ask questions I couldn't answer. Emma tried everything. Phone calls I didn't answer, texts I didn't read. She showed up at David's house twice. I didn't go to the door. She sent emails begging me to reconsider, to go to counseling, to give her a chance to explain. There was nothing to explain. I'd heard the truth in her own words. Melissa moved fast. By New Year's Eve, we had a preliminary hearing scheduled. Emma had hired a lawyer, not as good as Melissa, not as experienced with this kind of case, but competent enough. The hearing was brutal. We sat on opposite sides of the courtroom like strangers. She looked terrible. Red eyes, weight loss, trembling hands. I looked calm. I was calm. The nothing had settled in permanently now. Her lawyer tried to argue that the credit card debt was for household expenses. Melissa produced receipts showing otherwise. Tiffany jewelry, Williams-Sonoma kitchen equipment, Nordstrom clothes in sizes I didn't wear. Her lawyer tried to argue that the money transfers were for savings. Melissa showed that the account was in Emma's name only, opened 3 months ago, clearly not marital savings. Her lawyer tried to suggest we should attempt reconciliation, that marriages could survive infidelity. Melissa calmly entered into evidence the text messages between Emma and Jake. Read them aloud in court. Messages about how they couldn't wait to be together, about how Emma was counting down the days until she could leave me, about how Jake was going to be such a good father to their baby. Emma was sobbing by the end of it. Her parents were there. They looked shell-shocked. The judge ordered a temporary division of assets that gave me access to all our joint accounts and froze Emma from making any large withdrawals or sales without court approval. Outside the courthouse, Richard caught up with me. "Marcus," he said, "I know you're hurting. I know this is terrible, but she's our daughter and we love her, and she told you about Jake," I said, "at Christmas Eve. You knew what she'd done and you stood in your house and told me how happy she was. You knew she was pregnant with another man's baby and you said nothing." Richard's face crumpled. "We were trying to protect her, to let her do this her own way." "Protect her from what?" "The consequences of her choices. You raised her to think she could do whatever she wanted without accountability. Well, now she's learning different." I walked away. Catherine caught up with me in the parking lot. "She made a mistake," Catherine said urgently. "People make mistakes. Are you really going to throw away 7 years over a mistake?" "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary," I said. "A mistake is saying something hurtful in an argument. A 6-month affair where she got pregnant with her boss's baby and stole $30,000 from our joint accounts isn't a mistake. It's a choice. Multiple choices. Hundreds of them. Every time she got in her car to drive to a hotel with him. Every time she withdrew cash to buy him gifts. Every time she lied to my face about where she'd been. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices. She loves you." "No, she doesn't. And you know what? I don't care anymore. Love isn't enough. Love doesn't excuse betrayal. Love doesn't mean I have to sacrifice my self-respect to make her feel better about her choices." I got in my car and drove away from Emma's mother, standing in the parking lot looking lost. January passed in a blur of legal meetings and document reviews. Melissa was as good as her reputation suggested. She built an airtight case for marital waste, for division of assets in my favor, for me being held harmless for the debts Emma had accrued. Emma's lawyer fought back, but weakly. The evidence was overwhelming. Every time they tried to paint me as an absent husband who'd driven Emma to an affair, Melissa produced emails and texts showing Emma encouraging me to take work trips, to focus on my career, to not worry about her. "She can't have it both ways," Melissa argued in one hearing. "She can't encourage him to advance his career and then blame his career for her infidelity." The judge agreed. In February, Jake finally appeared in the story. His wife had filed for divorce too. She was apparently less forgiving than Emma had expected me to be. Jake's divorce was messy. He'd been married for 12 years, had 2 kids. His wife fought dirty, exposed the affair publicly, sent evidence to his employer. Jake got fired. Turned out having a sexual relationship with a subordinate violated his company's ethics policies. Emma, as the subordinate, kept her job but was transferred to a different department. I heard all this through the gossip network. David's wife knew someone who worked at Emma's company. Apparently, Emma was a pariah there now, the woman who'd slept with her married boss and destroyed his family. I should have felt satisfaction. I felt nothing. Emma tried one more time to reach me in March. Showed up at the office where I'd returned to work after the Dubai project ended. Security called me. "There's an Emma Harrison here to see you. Tell her I'm not available. She says it's urgent." "I don't care. Tell her to contact my lawyer." But she was waiting by my car when I left that evening. 5 months pregnant now, showing clearly. "Marcus," she said, "please, just 5 minutes." I looked at her, saw the woman I'd loved, saw the stranger she'd become. "5 minutes," I said. "I'm sorry." The words came out in a rush. "I'm so sorry. I was stupid and selfish, and I threw away the best thing in my life for something that wasn't even real. Jake and we're not together anymore. His wife destroyed him in the divorce and he blames me, and I realize now that what we had wasn't love. It was just excitement, escape. I was running from responsibility, and I ruined everything, and I'm so sorry." I waited for her to finish. I want you back, she said. I know I don't deserve it. I know I hurt you. But I love you and I miss you and I want to fix this. Please, Marcus. Please, can we try? No. Please. You're pregnant with another man's baby, I said flatly. Even if I could forgive the affair, even if I could move past the laws and the theft and the betrayal, I can't be a father to Jake's child. I won't do that. It would be a constant reminder of what you did. Every time I looked at that baby, I'd see you with him. We could, after the baby is born, I could give it up for adoption. We could start fresh. The suggestion was so appalling, I actually stepped back. You'd give up your baby? You'd give away your child to make me more comfortable? What kind of person even suggests that? I just want you back. I'll do anything. No, the answer is no. It will always be no. I don't love you anymore, Emma. I don't even know if I ever really loved you or if I just loved the person I thought you were. But that person, if she ever existed, is gone, and I can't get her back. I got in my car and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot, pregnant and alone. The divorce was finalized in April. I got the house, 60% of our liquid assets, and she was ordered to reimburse the marital estate for the money she'd spent on the affair. My retirement account stayed mine. Hers stayed hers. She got the debt from the credit card she'd opened, the furniture from the apartment she'd apparently been planning to move into with Jake before his life fell apart. The settlement was fair. Dojo was fair, Melissa said. More than fair, given the circumstances. I signed the papers in her office. Emma signed them at her lawyer's office. We never saw each other. On the day our divorce became final, I went back to the house. Our house. My house now. It felt empty, hollow. I walked through rooms full of memories that felt like they belonged to someone else. I stood in the bedroom where Emma had slept beside me for 7 years and tried to feel something. Still nothing. David told me I was depressed. Probably right. He wanted me to see a therapist. I went once. The therapist was kind and patient and asked me how I felt. Nothing, I said. I feel nothing. She said that was normal, that I'd experienced trauma and my emotions had shut down to protect me, that eventually I'd need to process what happened, to feel the feelings I was avoiding. I didn't go back. In May, I sold the house. Couldn't live there anymore. Every room was haunted by the ghost of a marriage I'd thought was real. I bought a condo downtown. Modern, clean, no memories. Emma had the baby in June. A girl. Jake wasn't at the hospital. They'd been broken up for 3 months by then. I heard she named the baby Sophia. I heard she was raising her alone. I heard her parents were helping, but not as much as she'd hoped. I heard all this secondhand and felt the same nothing I'd felt about everything else. In July, a year after the last time Emma and I had been intimate, I went on a date. David's wife set it up. A friend of a friend. Nice woman, smart, attractive. We had dinner. She talked about her work, her hobbies, her life. I told her I had recently gotten divorced. How long were you married? She asked. 7 years. What happened, if you don't mind me asking? She had an affair, got pregnant with his baby, spent our money on him, lied about all of it for 6 months. The woman's eyes went wide. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. It's fine, I said. I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I was nothing. And nothing wasn't fine. It was just nothing. There was no second date. 3 weeks after the divorce was final, I saw them at a restaurant. Emma and Jake, together again, apparently. He was holding baby Sophia. Emma was smiling. They looked happy. I stood outside the restaurant window and watched them for a moment. Watched Jake bounce the baby while Emma laughed at something he said. They destroyed their marriages, lost their minds, spent a fortune on divorce lawyers, become social pariahs in their professional and social circles. And there they were, happy. I waited for anger, for pain, for anything. Still nothing. I walked away. David found me later that night, drunk in my condo, staring at the wall. I saw them, I said. They're back together. Fuck them, David said fiercely. They're terrible people who deserve each other. They looked happy. So they're happy now. Give it 6 months. Give it a year, Dan. People who build relationships on betrayal always end up betraying each other eventually. Maybe he was right. Maybe they'd implode. Maybe they'd hurt each other the way they'd hurt their spouses. Or maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd actually make it work. Maybe love built on ruins sometimes lasted. I didn't know. I didn't care. I can't feel anything, I told David. It's been 7 months and I can't feel anything. That's trauma, man. That's your brain protecting you. When does it stop? When do I get to feel something again? He didn't have an answer. In August, a year after Emma started her affair, I quit my job. The engineering firm was surprised. I was good at what I did. They offered me more money, better projects, flexible schedules. I turned it all down. I need a change, I said. What I meant was I need to burn down everything that reminds me of who I was when I thought I was happy. I moved to Seattle. New city, new job, new life. No one there knew I'd been married. No one knew about Emma or Jake or the Christmas Eve that destroyed everything. I was just Marcus, the quiet engineer who kept to himself. I worked. I existed. I felt nothing. In September, Emma reached out one last time. An email, long and rambling and desperate. She told me Jake had left her, that he'd decided being a father was too hard, that he'd moved to another state to take a job that didn't require him to see her or Sophia. She told me she was struggling, that being a single mother was harder than she'd imagined, that her parents were disappointed in her, that her friends had mostly abandoned her. She told me she'd made a terrible mistake, that she'd thrown away something real for something that had turned out to be an illusion. She asked if we could talk, if there was any chance, if I'd ever be able to forgive her. I read the email 3 times. Then I deleted it, moved it to trash, emptied the trash, blocked her email address. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. She'd made her choices. I'd made mine. In October, David visited me in Seattle. "You look terrible," he said bluntly. "Thanks." "I'm serious, Marcus. You're a ghost. You've lost weight. You're not sleeping. You're just existing. That's not living." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You haven't been fine since Christmas Eve last year." "And I get it, man. I get that what she did was devastating. But you can't let her destroy the rest of your life. She took enough from you. Don't give her more." "I'm not giving her anything." "Yes, you are. You're giving her your future. You're giving her your ability to be happy. You're giving her power over you by refusing to move on." "I have moved on. I'm in a new city, new job, new life." "No," David said quietly. "You're in a new place, but you're still trapped in that moment you heard her tell her mother about Jake. You're still standing in that hallway, holding Christmas presents, having your world end. You never left that moment, Marcus. You're still there." He was right. I knew he was right. But I didn't know how to leave. "How do I stop feeling nothing?" I asked. "You have to let yourself feel something. Anything. Even if it hurts. Even if it's anger or pain or grief. You have to feel it to get through it." That night, alone in my Seattle condo bus, I finally let myself feel. I felt the rage first. Hot and overwhelming and terrifying. Rage at Emma for betraying me. Rage at Jake for his callousness. Rage at her parents for protecting him well. Rage at myself for not seeing the signs. Then the pain, deep and aching and endless. The loss of 7 years. The loss of the future I'd planned. The loss of the person I'd been before I knew what betrayal felt like. Then the grief. For the marriage I'd thought was real. For the love I'd believed in. For the man I'd been who'd thought he was building something permanent. I cried. Like I'd cried in that beige hotel room on Christmas Eve, but harder, deeper, louder. I broke things, not many things. I wasn't destructive by nature. But I threw my coffee mug against the wall and watched it shatter and felt something like satisfaction. I screamed into a pillow so the neighbors wouldn't call the police. Screamed out all the words I'd never said to Emma, all the anger I'd kept controlled, all the pain I'd refused to acknowledge. When I was done, hours later, throat raw, eyes burning, I felt empty, but it was a different kind of empty than before. This empty had space in it, room for something new to grow. I started seeing the therapist David recommended, went twice a week, talked about everything I'd been holding in. She asked me what I'd lost when Emma betrayed me. "Everything," I said. "No," she corrected gently. "You lost your marriage. You lost your trust in one person. You lost the future you'd planned, but you didn't lose everything. You didn't lose your intelligence, your kindness, your ability to love, your worth as a person. Those things are still intact. I didn't believe her at first, but slowly, week by week, session by session, I started to see her point. Emma's betrayal said something about her, not about me. Her choice to cheat wasn't a reflection of my value. It was a reflection of her character. The lies she told didn't make me stupid for believing them. They made her a liar. The future she destroyed wasn't my failure. It was her choice. In December, a year after the worst Christmas of my life, I flew back home for the holidays. David and Sarah hosted a party. I went. There were people there I knew, people who'd known Emma and me as a couple, people who'd heard about the divorce. They were awkward at first, careful with me. But I surprised them by being okay. Actually okay. I laughed at jokes, had conversations, felt present in my own life for the first time in a year. You seem good, Sarah said quietly. Really good. I'm getting there, I told her. And it was true. I was getting there. Not to happiness yet, not to trust, not to being ready for another relationship, but to being okay with being alone, to being okay with not knowing what came next, to being okay. In January, 2 years after Emma started her affair, I met someone. Her name was Rachel. She was a landscape architect. We met at a professional conference where our fields overlapped. We talked for 3 hours over coffee, then dinner, then breakfast the next morning after talking all night. She was divorced too. Different circumstances. Her ex had been an alcoholic who'd refused treatment, but she understood loss, understood betrayal, understood the work of rebuilding yourself. We started slowly. Coffee dates, lunch meetings, walks through Seattle parks while she pointed out trees I'd never noticed. I told her about Emma, about Christmas Eve, about the year of nothings that followed. She listened without judgment. Do you think you'll ever trust someone again? She asked. I don't know, I said honestly. Part of me thinks I will. Part of me thinks I'm too damaged. You're not damaged, she said firmly. You're wounded. There's a difference. Damage is permanent. Wounds heal. I wanted to believe her. We kept seeing each other, kept talking, kept building something careful and honest and real. One night, 6 months after we met, she asked me about scars. Everyone has scars, she said, physical or emotional. They're proof that we survived something, that we healed. Do you have scars from what Emma did? Yes. Can I see them? I told her everything, not just the facts I'd shared before, but the feelings, the way I'd stood in that hallway and felt myself cease to exist, the year of nothing, the rage and pain and grief that had finally broken through, the slow, hard work of becoming okay. She listened to all of it. Then she told me about her scars, about finding her husband passed out in their daughter's room, about the lies and broken promises, about choosing to leave even though she still loved him, about rebuilding her life as a single mother. We're both survivors, she said, survivors of different things, but survivors nonetheless. And survivors get to choose what comes next. I kissed her that night, first time since Emma. It felt like stepping off a cliff and discovering I could fly. It wasn't perfect. I had moments of panic, moments where I wanted to run, moments where my scars ached. But Rachel was patient, understanding. She gave me space when I needed it and closeness when I could handle it. We built something together, slowly, carefully, honestly. 3 years after Christmas Eve, I married Rachel. It was a small ceremony. David was my best man. Rachel's daughter was her maid of honor. We didn't have a big reception. Didn't want the stress or the show, just us and the people we loved, making promises we intended to keep. I thought about Emma during the ceremony. Couldn't help it. My wedding to her had been huge. 300 people. Open bar. Live band. The works. This was different. Quieter. More real. I meant these vows in a way I hadn't understood how to mean the first time. After the ceremony, David pulled me aside. You happy? He asked. Yeah, I said, and meant it. I really am. Good. You deserve it. I thought about that word, deserve. What did any of us deserve? Emma had thought she deserved passion and excitement. had chosen it over stability and trust. Jake had thought he deserved a fresh start, had abandoned his children for it. I'd thought I deserved a faithful wife, had discovered that what we think we deserve and what we get aren't always aligned. But now, standing here with Rachel's hand in mine, I thought maybe deserve was the wrong word. Maybe it wasn't about deserving. Maybe it was about choosing. Choosing to trust again, even though I'd been betrayed. Choosing to love again, even though I'd been hurt. Choosing to build something new instead of staying trapped in the wreckage of what had been destroyed. 4 years after Christmas Eve, Emma sent me a letter. Not an email I could block. An actual letter. Handwritten. Forwarded through Melissa because she was the only contact point Emma had. I almost threw it away without reading it, but Rachel saw it, asked what it was. Letter from my ex-wife, I said. Are you going to read it? Should I? Rachel thought about it. That depends. Will reading it help you or hurt you? I didn't know. I'd spent 4 years building a life Emma wasn't part of. Did I really want to let her back in, even just through words on paper? But curiosity won. I opened the letter. It was long. Pages of small, careful handwriting. She told me Sophia was 3 now. Smart and funny and beautiful. She told me Jake had never paid child support, had disappeared completely. She told me her career had recovered, that she'd been promoted, was doing well professionally. She told me she was in therapy, had been for 2 years, was working on understanding why she'd made the choices she'd made. She told me she'd realized too late that what she'd called boring and safe had actually been love and commitment and partnership. She told me she was sorry. Again. Still. She told me she hoped I was happy. She told me she didn't expect a response, didn't expect anything from me, just wanted me to know that she understood, finally, what she'd destroyed. The letter ended with, "You deserve better than what I gave you." I hope you found it. I read it twice. Felt not nothing, not rage, not pain, something like pity, maybe, or closure. What did it say? Rachel asked. I summarized it for her. Are you going to respond? No, I said. I don't think there's anything to say. She apologized. I heard it. That's enough. Is it really? I thought about the man I'd been on Christmas Eve 4 years ago, about the year of nothing that followed, about the slow, painful work of healing. Yeah, I said, it really is. I don't need anything from her. I don't hate her. I don't love her. I don't think about her unless reminded. She's just someone I used to know who made choices that hurt me. That's all she is now. Rachel kissed my cheek. That's growth. It was growth. Hard-won and slow and painful, but growth nonetheless. I put the letter in a box in my closet, didn't throw it away, but didn't keep it somewhere I'd see it either. Just archived it, like any other document from a closed project. 5 years after Christmas Eve, I became a father. Rachel and I had a son. We named him Daniel. Holding him for the first time, I thought about everything that had happened to bring me to this moment. If Emma hadn't had an affair, I'd never have divorced her. If I'd never divorced her, I'd never have moved to Seattle. If I'd never moved to Seattle, I'd never have met Rachel. If I'd never met Rachel, Daniel wouldn't exist. It wasn't that Emma's betrayal was good. It wasn't that I was grateful for the pain, but it had led here, to this moment, to this life, to this family. What are you thinking? Rachel asked from the hospital bed. That life is strange, I said, that the worst thing that ever happened to me led to some of the best things. Are you glad it happened? No, but I'm glad where I ended up. She understood the distinction. Daniel grew. First steps, first words, first day of school. I was present for all of it, not traveling for work, not missing moments because I was building a career. I'd learned that lesson at least, that the building blocks of a life weren't job titles and bank accounts. They were moments, connections, people who mattered. 6 years after Christmas Eve, I ran into Richard, Emma's father. I was visiting David for the weekend, stopped at a coffee shop, and there he was. He looked older, grayer, tired. Marcus? He said, surprised, uncertain. Richard. Awkward silence. I heard you remarried, he said finally. Have a son. I do. That's good. I'm glad you found happiness. I studied him, saw the regret in his face. How's Emma? I asked. She's managing. Sophia's 6 now, smart kid. Emma's doing better. Therapy helped. She's with someone new, nice guy, teacher, stable. Stable. The thing she'd once called me dismissively. The thing she'd apparently learned to value. That's good, I said, and meant it. Marcus, Richard's voice dropped. I owe you an apology. For that Christmas. For knowing what she was planning and not saying anything. For protecting her instead of being honest with you. That wasn't right. I considered his words. The apology I'd wanted desperately 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, now it felt less important. I appreciate that, I said. But it's okay. Really. What's done is done. Are you happy? He asked. Yeah, I said, I really am. And it was true, not the simple, unexamined happiness of my marriage to Emma, not the happiness of someone who didn't know that love could be faked and marriages could be lies, but the complicated, earned happiness of someone who'd been broken and healed, who'd lost everything and built something new, who'd survived. 7 years after Christmas Eve, I told the story to my therapist. I still saw her occasionally. Maintenance sessions, making sure I was processing things healthily. Do you think about her? The therapist asked. Sometimes, Wash, I admitted. Not often, but sometimes. What do you think about? I think about that night, hearing her tell her mother about Jake, the way my whole world changed in 30 seconds. I paused. I think about how I could have confronted her right then, made a scene, let my anger out immediately. Do you wish you had? No, the way I did it, carefully, methodically, with evidence, that was better. It gave me control when I felt powerless. It made me feel less like a victim. Do you still feel like a victim? I thought about it. No, I feel like someone who experienced a terrible thing and survived it. That's different than being a victim. What would you say to someone going through what you went through? I'd say it gets better, not quickly, not easily, but it gets better. I'd say that the nothing you feel is temporary, even though it doesn't feel that way. I'd say that you have to let yourself grieve, let yourself be angry, let yourself feel all the things you're avoiding. And I'd say that eventually, on the other side of all that pain, there's a life worth living. Is that what you have? A life worth living? Yeah, I said, I do. 8 years after Christmas Eve, I let it go. Not the memory, that would always be there, but the weight of it. The significance, it became just a thing that happened, not the defining moment of my life. Not the event that everything else was measured against, just a thing. Painful and difficult and life-changing, but not all-consuming. Rachel noticed. You're different lately, she said one evening while we were making dinner together. Different how? Lighter, like you've put something down that you've been carrying. She was perceptive. I think I have, I said. The Emma stuff? Yeah, that's good. She kissed me. You deserve to be free of it. There was that word again. Deserve. Maybe I did deserve to be free of it. Maybe I deserved to be happy. Maybe I deserved this life I'd built with Rachel and Daniel. Or maybe deserve wasn't the point. Maybe the point was that I had chosen this, had chosen to heal, had chosen to trust again, had chosen to build something new instead of staying in the wreckage of what had been destroyed. 9 years after Christmas Eve, I forgot the anniversary. December 24th came and went, and I didn't think about it. Didn't remember until 2 days later when I was looking at my calendar for something else and saw the date. 9 years since I'd heard Emma confess to her mother. 9 years since my marriage ended, even though I didn't know it yet. And I'd forgotten. That felt like victory. 10 years after Christmas Eve, Emma reached out one more time. Another letter, shorter this time. I know I have no right to contact you. I know you've moved on and built a life, and I'm just a painful memory. But Sophia asks about you sometimes. She knows you were married to me before she was born. She doesn't understand why we're not together. I've told her we wanted different things, that we grew apart, all the euphemisms divorced people use. But she's 9 now, and she's smart, and she can tell there's more to the story. I don't want to lie to her the way I lied to you. So I told her the truth, that I made terrible choices and hurt you deeply, and that's why our marriage ended. She asked if you hate me. I told her I didn't know. Do you hate me? I'm not asking because I want your forgiveness or because I'm looking for closure. I'm asking because someday she might want to understand her own origin story, and I want to be able to tell her the truth about who we were and who we are now. I hope you're well. I hope you're happy. I hope that 10 years is enough distance for the pain to have faded. Emma, I read the letter to Rachel. Do you? She asked. Hate her? No, I said. I don't think I ever really hated her. I was angry, hurt, betrayed, but hate, no. Are you going to respond? I think I will, just to answer her question. For Sophia's sake. I wrote back, kept it brief. Emma, I don't hate you. I did once, or thought I did, but hate takes energy, and I'd rather spend that energy on the people I love. What you did hurt me deeply, but I've healed. I've moved on. I have a family I love and a life that makes me happy. I hope you have the same. For Sophia, your mother made choices that hurt people, but she's working to be better. That's all any of us can do. We make mistakes, we hurt people, and if we're lucky and willing to do the work, we become better than we were. Tell her that everyone's story is complicated, that people are more than the worst thing they have ever done, and that it's possible to survive being hurt and build something good anyway. I wish you both well. Marcus, I mailed the letter and felt peace, not forgiveness exactly. Emma hadn't earned that, and I wasn't sure she ever would. But peace, the kind that comes from putting down a burden you didn't realize you were still carrying. 11 years after Christmas Eve, Daniel asked me about my first marriage. He was 6. He'd seen wedding photos at David's house, pictures from when David was my best man the first time. Who's that lady? He asked, pointing at Emma. Rachel and I had agreed to be honest with him age appropriately. That's someone I was married to before your mom, I said. Why aren't you married to her now? Because we wanted different things and we weren't good for each other. So we stopped being married. Did it make you sad? Very sad for a while. Are you still sad? No, because now I have you and your mom, and I'm very happy. That satisfied him. He went back to his coloring book. Rachel caught my eye, smiled. We'd done it. We'd built a family, a real one, based on honesty and trust and showing up. The kind of family I'd thought I had with Emma, but had only found with Rachel. 12 years after Christmas Eve, I stopped counting, stopped marking the anniversary, stopped measuring my life in distance from that moment, started measuring it in other ways. In Daniel's milestones, in years with Rachel, in projects completed and challenges overcome, Christmas Eve became just Christmas Eve again. A day for family and celebration and looking forward to the year ahead. Not a day haunted by ghosts of marriages past. The house where Emma's parents had lived was sold. They downsized to a condo somewhere in Florida. Richard had died 2 years earlier. Heart attack. I'd heard about it through mutual acquaintances, felt sad in an abstract way. Catherine was still alive as far as I knew. I didn't keep track. Jake had apparently remarried, had another kid. I didn't keep track of that either. Emma was still with the teacher. They'd gotten married. Sophia had a stepfather who showed up and loved her and chose her every day. I was glad for that, genuinely glad. Every kid deserved that. I'd built a good life, a real life, a life worth living. And if someone asked me about my first marriage, I could tell them the story without pain, without anger, just facts, a timeline, something that happened to someone I used to be. The scars were still there, but they'd faded, become part of the landscape of who I was instead of fresh wounds that defined me. Rachel understood that. She had her own scars. We compared them sometimes, not competitively, just honestly. We're both survivors, she'd said once. She was right. We'd both survived different kinds of betrayal, different kinds of loss, and we'd both chosen to build something new instead of staying trapped in what had been destroyed. That was the real story. Not the betrayal, not the pain, not the Christmas Eve that changed everything. The story was what came after. The healing, the rebuilding, the choosing to trust again, the choosing to love again, The choosing to believe that what was broken could be mended into something different, but still beautiful. 15 years after Christmas Eve, I received a wedding invitation. Sophia was getting married. She was 21, young but certain. The invitation was addressed to me and Rachel and Daniel. Emma had included a note. Sophia wants you there. She knows our history, all of it, and she still wants you at her wedding. She says you're part of her story even though you were only in her mother's life for a short time. I understand if this is too much to ask. I understand if seeing me would be uncomfortable. But she asked me to invite you, so I am. No hard feelings either way. Emma, I showed the invitation to Rachel. Do you want to go? She asked. I don't know, it feels strange. I was married to her mother for 7 years, but I've never even met Sophia. I left before she was born. But she wants you there. That means something. It did mean something. I just wasn't sure what. Would you be okay with it? I asked Rachel. It's not about me being okay with it. It's about whether you want to go, whether it would be good for you or painful for you. I thought about it for days. Finally decided, yes, I'd go. Not for Emma, not even for Sophia really, since I didn't know her, but for closure, for the final punctuation mark on a story that had been running without an ending for 15 years. The wedding was in spring, outdoors, beautiful weather. Sophia was lovely, looked like Emma but with different energy, calmer, more grounded. Her fiancé was a doctor, kind eyes. The way he looked at her reminded me of how I used to look at Emma. I hoped he'd never have to learn what I learned. Emma saw me before the ceremony, approached carefully. Marcus, she said, thank you for coming. Of course. You look good, happy. I am, you too. I am, finally. She smiled uncertainly. This is Rachel? Yes, Rachel, this is Emma. They shook hands. Two women who'd both been married to me, meeting for the first time. It's nice to meet you, Rachel said graciously. You too, and this must be Daniel. My son, 15 years old now, shook Emma's hand politely. Sophia's excited to meet you, Emma said to me. She's nervous about the wedding, but she really wanted you here. Why by night? Emma looked uncomfortable. She said her origin story includes pain and mistakes, but it also includes people choosing to be better. She said you're part of that story, you choosing to move on instead of staying angry. That taught her something about resilience and forgiveness. I didn't know what to say to that. She's very wise, Rachel said. She is. Better than I was at her age. Better than I deserved. Emma's voice caught. I have to go help her get ready. But Marcus, thank you for coming, for responding to my letters, for not hating me even though you had every right to. I hope you're happy, Emma, I said and meant it. I hope you are too. I am. The ceremony was beautiful. Sophia glowed. Her husband, new husband, looked at her like she was the only person in the world. During the reception, Sophia found me. Mr. Harrison, she said. Thank you for coming. Call me Marcus, and congratulations. I wanted to meet you. I know it's strange. You were married to my mom, but you left before I was born, but you're still part of my story. Your mother mentioned that. I'm not sure I understand. Sophia glanced at where Emma was standing with her teacher husband. My mom made terrible choices. She hurt you and Jake's family and herself, but she's worked hard to be better, to be someone I can be proud of. And part of what helped her become better was knowing that you moved on, that you built a good life, that you didn't let what she did destroy you. I almost let it, I admitted. For a while, I almost let it. But you didn't, and that matters. It taught my mom that healing is possible. It taught me that we're not defined by our worst moments if we're willing to do the work to be better. This 21-year-old woman was teaching me things about my own story that I hadn't understood. You're very wise, I said. She laughed. My mom says that too. I think I just had to grow up fast, had to figure out how to make sense of a complicated origin story. For what it's worth, I said, I'm glad your mother found happiness. I'm glad you have a good stepfather. And I'm glad you're starting your own story with someone who loves you. Thank you, she said. That means more than you know. She hugged me, the stranger who was somehow connected to me through pain and healing and the strange ways lives intersect. Then she went back to her wedding, to her husband, to her future. And I went back to mine. Rachel took my hand. Daniel was talking to another teenager at the next table. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." And I was. The story had an ending now. Not a neat one, not a simple one, but an ending nonetheless. Emma had hurt me, deeply, completely. But I'd survived, more than survived. I'd healed. I'd grown. I'd built something real and good and lasting. The scars were still there, would always be there. But they didn't define me anymore. They were just part of my story, the painful chapters that had led to better ones. We left the wedding as the sun was setting, drove home through spring twilight. "What are you thinking?" Rachel asked. "That life is strange and painful and beautiful," I said. "That the worst things can lead to the best things. That we survive by choosing to survive." Deep thoughts for a Saturday evening. I laughed. Maybe, or maybe just the truth. Daniel fell asleep in the back seat. I watched him in the rearview mirror. My son, my family, my life. All of it built on ruins. All of it beautiful anyway. That's the thing about betrayal, about being broken, about having your world end in the space between one heartbeat and the next. You have choices. You can stay in that moment forever. Let it define you, let it destroy you, or you can survive it, heal from it, build something new from the pieces. I chose survival. I chose healing. I chose to believe that even the worst pain could be survived and transformed into something that made you stronger instead of bitter. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. It wasn't simple, but it was worth it. Every painful step, every moment of nothing, every scar earned in the process of becoming whole again. Only worth it, because now, 20 years after Christmas Eve, I can tell this story without bleeding. I can remember that hallway, those Christmas presents, those terrible words, and I can acknowledge that it happened without being destroyed by it again. The man who stood in that hallway is gone. The marriage he thought he had never existed, but I'm still here, scarred but whole, wounded but healed, different than I was, but maybe better for it. And that, more than anything else, more than any revenge I could have taken or anger I could have held on to. That is the real ending to this story. Not Emma's confession, not the divorce, not even the wedding where I met the daughter I never had. The ending is this: I survived. And survival, it turns out, is its own kind of justice.